Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Emilio in Tennessee. We got Tim in Green Bay here to talk some Packers this evening. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome Friday night, and appreciate you joining our festivities here and wrapping the week up as hopefully your work week is wrapped up. I know ours is still ongoing. I'm sure. I don't know, Emilio. Did you wrap yours up or not?
Yeah, just barely. Just in the nick of time, went back out. Ran it late till 7. So
not this guy, Tim. We got another day to get it done. You know what I mean? And pray to sweet baby Jesus it don't rain. So that's what it's for.
I hear you, brother. Nothing like falling another day behind, right?
Hey, seems like every day we're talking about it. But appreciate everybody in the chat. I want to mention this real quick. You're going to notice a new ranking system in the chat periodically. The way it works is it'll rank the first place, second place, third place for the person who's most engaged. And it's my understanding, too, super chats kind of boost you a little bit. So it's pretty cool that it kind of keeps up with the top chat involvement or participants, I guess you could say. Just a new feature here on YouTube. So kind of cool. I seen the numbers popping up last night. I'm like, I guess it works. Emilio, you said you've noticed it the last couple of days, right?
Yeah. I think it's been going on for 3 days now. So
all right. Good deal. I see we got Rob Westerman in the chat. Good to see you, Rob, over at GBP Daily. Evening crew. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, man. Good to see you in here, buddy. Appreciate you swinging through. Anything you guys want to hit on before we dive into the topics tonight, man? We're going to talk a little Jordan Love. I've been wanting to kind of compare him to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and see, all right, how far off of a Hall of Fame pace is this guy? And then also we're going to talk a little Jaden Reed as things got a little spicy on social media earlier today. Anything y'all want to hit on before we get cranked up here?
I think we can go right into it. Unless you got something there, Mr. Department of Packers Efficiency over there.
No, I was just thinking on the mower earlier. That's all. They were just I'll bring it up real quick. They were just talking on the Athletic Pod about getting Joey Bosa over to the Bills and like them being contenders and all that. They were hoping for like 11, maybe 15 games out of him for and make him be able to get into the playoffs healthy. And, you know, what's 1 year, $13 million, right? So, but then I just kind of got thinking, like, how much of that is Green Bay doing in terms of, like, you using the hockey line to keep guys healthy without having to have as much, you know, on the back end, not as much depth if you don't need that on, you know, certain positions. How much can you balance that by rotating and keeping them, you know, less snap count? Because we've been going back and forth. Like Rashawn doesn't get as many snaps. You know, LVN, all these guys aren't getting as many snaps as other ends and stuff like that.
I think it's a great point. And, you know, I hadn't thought about it a whole lot. You just kind of think, all right, they want fresh legs in there.
Right. You're right. That's been my take the whole time. Hey, keep them fresh, hockey line. And then I just kind of got thinking.
Yeah. And then when you think about some of the better pass rushers in the league that get banged up throughout the year, and you look at their snap count, they're in the 90%, right? So, right. You know, it is what it is. So, I mean, it's probably a multitude of things that go into play or come into factor for Matt LaFleur making that decision. I say Matt LaFleur specifically, and I've said it time and time again on the show. This isn't just a Jeff Hafley thing. Right. They did this type of heavy rotation under Joe Barry, and they also did it under Mike Pettin. So this is a Matt LaFleur thing.
Right. Could it be a health thing that Matt has a feeling or a thing? Hey, I like doing it because I think, and you know, after looking at whatever data he has, that they're coming out healthier by rotating them more than, you know, running them into the ground.
Yeah, we always talk about, like, you know, one of the negative aspects of a pass rusher, first and foremost, you've got to be able to rush with power at the NFL level, right? That's a given. You can't just be a finesse pass rusher and make it in the NFL. So that's kind of one of the cornerstones of being able to play pass rush, whether it's edge or on the interior. If you can't rush with power, you're not going to last in the league. Right. And then when you talk about adding the finesse off of it, all those things come into play. Well, when you become an elite or a very, very good, a well-seasoned pass rusher, it's because you got to move with a backup move with a backup move, right? Well, you can't even set those moves up if you're not on the field. That's been the argument in the past, but also think of it from the offensive line's perspective. If they're going out there trying to pick you apart and go, okay, he's hit me with 2 bull rushes and a spin move. He's probably going to come with a I don't know, a swat and swim here or something, right? Or whatever. And then all of a sudden, oh crap, that's not him. Who's in now? And you got to kind of reset that focus, right? Like let's say a Brenton Cox Jr. comes in who had a pretty good year last year. I think it was 13.7% pressure rate. Now you've got to, all right, what's he setting me up with? What's his counter move going to be? And keep in mind, you studied all week long the tape. This is what offensive linemen do, especially at the tackle position. They're constantly studying the guys they're going to go up against that week to kind of see what moves they set up and their counter moves. Well, if you're doing a heavy rotation, you're bouncing them from side to side, that tackle can never get comfortable. I think that comes into play as well. But I'm glad you brought it up, Emilio. Tim, you got anything to add to that conversation? Or are we good, man?
No, just soaking up the knowledge. I like it. It's always good when Excelio's brain gets to turning and
not all the time.
Things. Not all the time.
It only gets to turning when he's on the mower. You notice that?
Yes.
Best ideas. When you're out there on a 5-acre lot, just hearing that mower hum, it's amazing the things you can think about listening to on a podcast. So, yeah. All right, let's get into it, boys. A little Jordan Love talk. This is going to be a fun one, I think. And again, I want to put something out here real quick. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to say if Jordan Love isn't a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, then this isn't worth it. This ain't a bust. He can be a top 10 quarterback. He can be a 10-year veteran quarterback, and it'd be well worth the first-round pick and the money spent. So please don't take this the wrong way. But what I wanted to do is kind of say, okay, how are we gauging his success or lack thereof? Like, are we giving him a fair shake at what we should expect from, him playing quarterback in Green Bay? And we have no better gauge than the 2 guys before him, obviously with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre before him. And I had to pull this tweet here for the screen grab on our Patreon group, by the way. When if you guys remember when Brett Favre was diagnosed with Parkinson's, Jordan Love that very next game wore Brett's jersey kind of in honor of him. Really cool that Brett acknowledged it on X as well. So pretty cool that Jordan Love is a big Favre fan, and obviously they're somewhat close, just like he's close with Aaron Rodgers. But let's get into it, man. How does Jordan Love stack up against 2 Hall of Famers and reasonable expectations for 2025? So we're going to accomplish 2 different things here. What has he done up to this point, comparatively speaking to the other quarterbacks? Mm-hmm. And then we'll look at both Aaron and Brett in year 3 as a starter, which is the year that Jordan Love's going into. And let's get an idea. What should we expect? What should kind of be and again, you can say the expectations should be a little lower than that, because that means he's tracking a Hall of Fame career if he exceeds it, right? So let's
keyword there as a starter. I know we're gonna go over this. I know he's in year 6, so we'll just make sure we.
No, absolutely, and the same thing applied to Aaron, right? Aaron sat for 3 years. Now Brett was a little bit different. He was in Atlanta for 1 year. He comes up. Don Mikowski gets hurt in his second year in the league, in Brett's second year in the league, and he's kind of thrust into the spotlight. So that should be mentioned. I'm glad you brought that up, Emilio. It's pretty cool, though. This last game, this one we hit home with Tim, this last game at County Stadium in Milwaukee, where Brett Favre makes that diving touchdown run to kind of seal their playoff hopes, if I remember correctly, or keep them alive at least.
Yeah, Holmgren told him, whatever you do, Brett, don't run. Yeah. And Brett takes off like a bat out of hell, running for the end zone.
If you don't get what we're expecting here, Brett, throw it away. You cannot run the football. My man dropped
no
back.
problem, coach.
He looked at the first read, threw a little pump fake, said, hell with it, I'm running. Thank God he made it into the end zone. But it was pretty cool that this was year 3 of Brett Favre. So those were the type of plays that Brett was making, even though the stat line may not suggest that was already proven to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Big-time players make big plays in big-time games. There's no doubt about it, right? So here was Brett Favre's first 3 seasons as a starter. Now, I'm going to include the early year as well there, right? And it'll be the same thing with all the quarterbacks. That way we can just take it up to year 3. So obviously in 1991, his rookie year, he only had 4 attempts. Let's move on to year 2. All right. This is his first year as a starter, as he started in 15 games. All right. His completion percentage was 64%. He threw for 3,227 yards. He had 18 touchdowns and 13 interceptions his first year as a starter. All right. His long was of 76, but the main thing you want to key in on, in my opinion, is going to be average per pass attempt, which was 6.9, right? I think that's actually average per completion, I believe it is. I could be wrong there. It might be pass attempt. It doesn't specify on ESPN. But 18 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and a passer rating of 85.3. In 1993, he played in 16 games, 3,303 yards passing, 6.3 average, 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. I repeat, 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions.
Man, that ain't nothing. That's a normal year for Brett, man. Come on.
And a passer rating of 72.2. And then it was year 3 as a starter where things really clicked, right? 3,882 yards passing, 6.7 average, 33 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and a passer rating of 90.7. I want to get your all's thoughts on that. Does that kind of, Tim, I'll start with you. I know you were around during this era. I don't know if Emilio, he was probably still crapping yellow back then. He's such a young whippersnapper. But is this how you remember Brett's career getting started?
Yeah. I actually remember the game that Mikowski got hurt and seeing Brett come out there and, so yeah, the very beginning to the very bitter end of Brett's career. So yeah, I do remember the early days a little bit. I would have been 11, something like that, 11 or 12 years old back then. So yeah, I was in the thick of Packer fandom as a young buck. And it was exciting. He brought we have to credit Don Mikowski too while we're talking about Favre's early career, because really, the Magic Man was the one who kind of got people excited about football again in Green Bay, after the dark ages of, most of the 1980s, So I think Brett just kind of picked up what, Don Mikowski kind of started with the organization. So, but yeah, first 3 years in the league, I'll tell you this, Jordan's probably got him beaten passer rating and interceptions for sure. But I think these numbers they're kind of telling because, like you said, 94 is when Brett really hit his stride, got the picks back down under as much control as he could, and 33 touchdowns. So I think the trajectory is there, and I think when you look at Jordan, first 3 years as a starter, I think the numbers are there. I think the comp is there. I think it's legit.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't even born yet, so none of those years have my birth year on it. So yeah, I think one thing you might be leading them in is just sacks, right? 30 a year. I mean, that's brutal. But besides that, man, I love watching Brett Favre. I do need to go back and watch some of these old ones again just to kind of relive it, man. Just because I'd like to see what, comparison, because I kind of remember Rodgers at the beginning, but, let's see a comparison on what Favre really actually did look like after looking at these stats. I might need to pull one up when I'm playing a little Madden tonight, Clay.
It's the best thing to do, man. I got the second screen over here.
Yep.
Just put on an old John Madden, Pat Summerall telecast of Brett Favre back in the day. It don't get any better. Reggie White, the whole crew. It's absolutely awesome, man. So again, the thing to point out there is in his second year as a starter, Brett's second year as a starter, 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions, and a passer rate of 72.2. That is the season that Jordan Love just completed. If Jordan Love had come out and threw 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions, how many people would have been screaming for Malik Willis to be the starter, And imagine if they had done that to Brett in 93, who knows what would have happened, right? Because Atlanta had already given up on him. So that's why it's important to kind of, all right, let's stay patient here. Let's see what we've actually got. Let's move on to Aaron Rodgers now. Year 3 for Aaron Rodgers, they won the Super Bowl. Now, when you hear that, you immediately think, oh, man, Jordan's got some big shoes to fill. Wait till you see the stat line. It's not as good as you would think it was. It's good, don't get me wrong. But here is Aaron Rodgers starting in 2008 when he took over as a starter in Green Bay. Here were the numbers, all right? And again, both he and Jordan Love had a little bit of an advantage over Favre, having to getting to sit in a system for 3 years and watch a great quarterback do it. Brett came in and just kind of had to get scolded by Mike Holmgren and learn along the way, right? So that is we got to be fair and mention that for sure. So 2008, Aaron Rodgers, 4,038 yards passing, an average of 7.5, 28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, all right, and a passer rating of 93.8. In 2009, 4,434 yards passing, 8.2 average, 30 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. That's when you realize, holy cow, we got one. Like that, when you get a second-year starter doing that type of stuff, protecting the football, passer rating of 103.2, it's
while taking 50 sacks.
Right. Oh, yeah, and that's the thing people forget. Yes, he had a great receiving. I think he had a better receiving core than Jordan Love has, me personally. And I think most people would agree. You're talking about Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Jermichael Finley when he was healthy that first year or two, whatever it was. But, yeah, taking 50 sacks, that's the thing, Emilio. That offensive line was not that good back then.
No.
And they were battling injuries too, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in 2010, when they won the Super Bowl, you would think the numbers probably be closer to that 30-7, right? 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Here was the numbers. 3,922 yards passing. He only played in 15 games, so he's one game less than the year before. 8.3 average, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Those aren't like crazy good numbers. You know what I mean? And he only took 31 sacks that year, but 101.2 passer rating. Those are Aaron Rodgers' numbers on the first 3 years as a starter in Green Bay. I'll start with you this time, Emilio. What sticks out to you? Does that surprise you? Do you think that's kind of how I remember it?
Yeah, just besides, I don't remember him taking that many sacks. I still feel like that's just crazy high number. Like being in the 30s, it just seems like Jordan Love does not get hit that much. Maybe he does. I may double check these numbers, but that and yeah, he was pushing 4,000, and people were getting on Love this year about, 25, 28 touchdowns, 30 touchdowns. And I think it's something that, we just need to keep in the back of our head. You don't need all that. I mean, yeah, you have one extra game, so you might get a couple more here or there, but you can still get it done, with these kind of numbers.
Mm-hmm. Rob in the chat says, I forgot how good Rodgers' 2009 year was. Yeah. And I was there. I went in 2008 and watched them play. I'm trying to think. In 2008, I watched them play Week 1 Monday Night Football against the Vikings at Lambeau. And I will never forget. I've told this story 1,000 times, and I've actually posted videos of his first touchdown pass on Twitter. I got it recorded from the seats. I've also got his first rushing touchdown recorded. But I will never forget that weekend at Lambeau. We were waiting in line to get Antonio Freeman and Robert Brooks autographs the day before. And where this was a Monday night game, we were in the atrium on Sunday night, right there in the corner of the old Packers Pro Shop. And we're watching Brett play with the Jets. It was just really weird. It was such a surreal moment. Watching on the TV mounted in the Pro Shop, Brett Favre playing for the Jets while we're waiting to get these autographs. We go out in the stadium that night, and I'll never forget sitting down next to the guy that was next to me and Manny, the fan next to me, and I went, let's see what we got. This is like you just literally said, nope, we're good to a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? And lo and behold, man, the first pass, I remember a play action pass to Jennings. And I remember our heads doing this when he threw that ball. And of course, Jennings made a remarkable catch, brung it down in coverage. And that guy, before I could get my eyes back down to where he was at, he screamed, Brett who? And then you got the crossbody throw to Corey Hall in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. You get the quarterback sneak and his very first Lambeau leap, and the rest is history. That was the night that I was like, okay, we got us a dog here. This is a real deal. Because that one throw to Jennings was like, that's not normal. So, but yeah, he's what a start to an amazing career, man. Wish he could have got more Super Bowls than just one, but you guys know how I feel about that. I don't think that's on Aaron personally. I mean, you got punts getting blocked in the playoffs and return for touchdowns, and it's ugly down there toward the end. So, nonetheless, Tim, you got anything else you want to add to Aaron Rodgers' numbers here? Anything catch you off guard or anything?
No, not really caught off guard. I will say when it comes to passer rating, it's going to be tough to catch up and beat Aaron. But I do think Jordan Love has that potential throughout his career. But yeah, 2009, man, that was the year 12 really hit his stride. And if memory serves me correct, I think that was the season. I think it was between 08 and 09 when Tom Clements worked with him on changing that drop back in that form. When Aaron came in, he used to hold that ball up real high over his shoulder, and they kind of worked on his release package and delivery system, and I think it made him more dynamic. That changed that early in his career. It might have been a year before they did that, but I do remember he was throwing the ball a hell of a lot better by 2009 going into 2010 season. So and I'm with you, Clay. Like I'm not going to get caught in the weeds on the stats when the quarterback that's putting those numbers up helped you bring Lombardi home. You know, nobody's going to give a rat's ass about how many picks you threw if you bring a Super Bowl home, you know? So I'll take it all day for sure. Prime Aaron Rodgers, man, tough to compete with that for sure.
So I just pulled it here. Before we move on to Jordan Love's numbers, this is that play that I recorded from the seats. I actually found it here. I think I turned the sound off because it's just us screaming. It was so loud, and it's kind of hard to see probably. But watch this across his body here. Look at how his body's torqued. Look at this. Look at that throw. Look where the ball goes. It was unbelievable, man. And there's a TV copyright below it, but I know we'll get hit with a copyright if we show that. But just absolutely. I mean, it was a dime. He throws it across his body. The ball ends up right here is where it ends up, the way he puts spin on that thing. It was just I had never seen anybody. I've seen Brett make a lot of great throws, but I had never seen a throw like that where he's torqued his body. You see the diving catch right there in the background.
Right.
It's just phenomenal, man. Phenomenal play. So anyway, that was that first touchdown that I was referring to. All right, moving along. When I say first touchdown as a starter for Green Bay. Obviously played in Dallas, and he had some mop-up time as well, I'm sure. So, all right, so the big stats to look for there in year 2, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, passer rating of 103.2. And then going into year 3, we'll come back and compare Brett and Aaron and see what we would expect to be a good year for Jordan Love. So here's Jordan Love's first 2 years as a starter, all right? 4,159 yards passing, 7.2 average, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And then last year, of course, he only played in 15 games, battled the injuries all year. He dipped to 3,389 yards passing, although he did average more at 8.0 a clip, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a passer rating of 96.7. His passer rating in 2023 was a 96.1. Look at the sacks as well. Took 30 sacks in 2023, but look at 2024, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now again, the interceptions went up. Probably has something to do with it. Not the total interceptions, but obviously the interceptions that we seen last year, where it's like, oh man, he's forcing the ball. Probably didn't want to take as many hits on that bad leg, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm happy he got his 30 count because it looks like everybody that was good needed a 30 burger and sack. So we got that, and then reel it in a little bit. Going into next year, I'm guessing now looking at it, probably 20, maybe 25, get him running a little bit. And, yeah, he's still in the 90s for the rating, 112 there in 2022. We got excited seeing that. But the fact that he's been, mid and high 90s just seems like it's only going up.
Yeah. Let's try to compare apples to apples here, Tim. 2023, let's look at his 2023 numbers. This was his first year as a starter, right? 4,159 yards passing. Aaron Rodgers, so he had more passing yards than Aaron Rodgers, right? His, let's see here, touchdown to interception ratio was 32-11, right? Aaron's was 28-13. So he outperformed him his first year as a starter, hands down. Aaron Rodgers' passer rating was a 93.8. Jordan Love's was a 96.1. Like he pretty much beat him in every statistical category, right, as first year as a starter. Now, last year's where he takes the dip, and Aaron took the step forward with the 4,434 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Jordan Love finished with 25 and 11 and at 3,389. So when we look at the third year as a starter, what can we reasonably expect from Jordan? I mean, he was better than Aaron his first year as a starter, Tim, right? Second year took a step back. I think it's reasonable to say, hey, do we think Jordan can get close to what Aaron did in year 3, right? And then we'll go to Brett and kind of comp it too. In year 3 for Aaron Rodgers, 3,922 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Guys, that is so freaking doable. He would have done that last year if he hadn't missed one game and wouldn't have been hurt, right? Which Aaron missed a game as well. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about him matching a first ballot Hall of Famer pretty much the first 3 years in the league, or at least 2 of the first 3 years, Tim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're talking statistically here. We're focusing on the numbers, right? I do think I'm not trying to throw any salt onto this experiment, but it's important that we remember we're talking about 3 different eras of NFL football. Brett's third year in the league, it was a different NFL. Aaron's third year in the league was a different different style of football. Rules were a little different. So Jordan going into year 3 now in this new era, new age of NFL that we play in with goofy kickoff rules and all of the stuff that we deal with today. So I think it's something you should consider. But when you do look at the numbers, I think Jordan's poised for one of those years. I think we're definitely going to see more than a 95-1 passer rating out of Jordan Love this year. I would anticipate he's well over the hundreds at that mark. And I would think he will continue to keep the, interceptions in check. 10, 11 picks a year. Hey, it happens. I'd like to see him have 7 or 8 or something, but we don't want to get too picky. And then I think the other thing that's exciting is you can't tell me Jay Money's not looking forward to all these new weapons he's got on this offense. So I think there's every reason to believe that Jordan Love makes that huge step in year 3, especially if he gets, all 17 games again this year and he, isn't dealing with being banged up or injured.
Right. Anything else, Emilio, you want to add to this? Anything at all?
No. I like Tim said, I'm excited for this year, man. The way it's tracking, good things to come.
Yeah. And I'll say this, and we'll wrap this segment up and move on to a little Jaden Reed talk. Let's compare the weapons that each quarterback had as well. Brett in 94 had Sterling Sharp, right? Aaron in 2008, 2009, whichever year you want to choose, had arguably the best receiving core in the entire National Football League. Jordan Love's led the league in drops. See what I'm saying? And now let's look specifically. Who was the number 1 receiver for Aaron back then? It's probably Greg Jennings.
Yeah.
Who was the number 1 receiver for Jordan Love? Jaden Reed, statistically, right? So you got a guy in Greg Jennings who could play all over the joint. He played all over the joint. He would line up at X. He could play in the slot. They could put him at Z. He was all over the place. I don't think anybody is trying to say that Jaden Reed was better last year than Greg Jennings was that year that Aaron kind of took off. You know what I mean? I'm not willing, and I'm the biggest Jaden Reed stan there is on the face of the earth. I'm not willing to say Jaden Reed's better than Greg Jennings at his best year because that was peak Greg Jennings. That's when he had arrived because he had already played with Brett a number of years as well. So, and obviously Jordy would take that number 1 role later. Think of the tight end position. Who did Aaron have? He had Jermichael Finley, although the year that they won the Super Bowl, Jermichael Finley went on IR fairly early. That's when he hurt his neck, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah, wasn't that Andrew Corliss? Who stepped in? Yeah,
I think you're right. So we had Andrew Corliss and a extremely underrated, underappreciated running back in James Starks, although he played for a crappy college. He coming out of Buffalo. That's a shot at Emilio. People are like, what are you hearing about Buffalo? So think of who Brett had at tight end. He had Mark Chimura, right? I mean, Chewy was considered a top 3 tight end when Brett kind of emerged. Now he also
Keith Jackson for a couple of years too.
He had Keith Jackson. He had Mark Chimura. There was another tight end too. I'm trying to think that was there for just a little bit. That was a little later on with Bubba Franks. That wasn't early on, but nonetheless. Now Jordan, you got Tucker Kraft, right? That's one thing you could say about the comp between Brett and Jordan. They both had great tight. I think Tucker Kraft I think he's going to be the next George Kittle, man. I believe that what we've seen. He looks like he can do everything. I'm really excited to see how his career unfolds here. So, all right, there you go. There's a little comp. Again, this wasn't to say Jordan Love's the first ballot Hall of Famer. This wasn't to say it's fair to compare across eras. This was simply people talk about Jordan having a bad year. And when you look at it, and I will say this about the eras, if we're gonna bring up the conversation of they're playing in different eras, Aaron Rodgers was playing in a pass-heavy, happy West Coast spread offense of Mike McCarthy, right? Mm-hmm. Jordan Love was playing in a run-heavy, wide zone boot scheme, duo scheme now, right, with Matt LaFleur. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing too. If you were to put Jordan Love in Mike McCarthy's system, then with the arm talent he's got, I think
he's humming that thing.
And Brett Favre was playing in whatever the hell system he wanted.
A split backfield 21 personnel pro set is what he was playing in. That's wild to think about, that he was putting up the numbers he was back then.
Seriously.
But, all right, so there you go. Just a little comp. And again, I think as we wrap it up, let me ask you guys this. What do you think is a reasonable stat line for Jordan Love this year? And I know we would rather him throw for 2,000 yards than us winning Lombardi. I got it. Spare me all that. All right. What do we think realistically you can go, that was a good year? Not great, not Hall of Fame, but like, hey, all right, this dude is the real deal top quarterback. What do you think the numbers would be? Passing yardage, touchdown to interception ratio.
Gotta go. Tim, yeah, you go first, bud.
Back over 4,000 yards passing. I think get closer to that 2023 numbers. Again, picks I'd like to see below 10, but it's kind of a crapshoot there. And then tutters, man, let's get north of 30, north of 40, something like that. So, and then I think the big thing is completion percentage. It'd be nice to see that up over the that 65% kind of mark,
Right. Which, by the way, was Aaron Rodgers' career completion percentage was 65. So when you look at the 63%, 65%, that's what when you look at the 63% that Jordan Love had last year, that's 2% lower than Aaron Rodgers' career completion percentage. All right. So to put that into perspective, for every 100 throws, if they both went out there and threw the ball 100 times, both Aaron and Jordan's only going to have 2 more fall incomplete. Not a big difference, right? Unless my numbers are off there, Emilio. But what do you think would be a good year, man?
I would say anything over 3,800 yards, 28 tutters, and 12 picks. So that gives him a little bit of leeway. I don't care if he's humming it still. I want him to still throw the ball. You don't need to break 4, I guess. Ideally, I would love that, but you get him definitely over 3,750, but ideally 3,800 and up, and then 28 touchdowns, 12 picks, get you to 40 total. So I'll take that. A couple to the other team, a couple to your boys, and then I'm expecting a lot out of Josh Jacobs and stuff like that, where we're not going to be having as many passing touchdowns, just kind of relying on the run a little bit.
Yeah, for me, it's real simple. I want 30-plus touchdowns and single-digit interceptions, and I'd like it to be closer to – if he can somehow crack 30 touchdowns and like around 5 interceptions, you're talking, okay, elite air. Like this dude's going to he's going to be –
kind of that bar that Aaron set, right?
Right.
We know Aaron protected the football. You say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. I really don't care how you feel, but the man rarely threw interceptions, and he still took risks. That's been a popular narrative about Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw over the middle. We can run back highlight after highlight of him lighting people up right over the middle of the field, throwing into tight windows and still protecting the football. So I think that's something that, Jordan had the ability to experience firsthand, backing up 12 for a couple of years, and I think he's making that a part of his game. I think Jordan, we know he's a big game guy, right? He's going to take that shot play. He wants to win the game on a throw, but I think it's also instilled in him about protecting that football. And there's nothing wrong with taking a risk as long as it's calculated and makes sense, So I'm with you, Clay. I hope them interception numbers are well below 10 this year. That'd be great.
Yeah. Hardhead 72 said 67% completion percentage, 4,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. If he completes 67% of his passes next year, and you could get those interceptions under 10, you're probably talking about the Packers winning 13, 14 games, I would imagine. Because Josh Jacobs is going to get his. There's no two ways about it. This defense, if they take another step forward, you already got a top 5 defense, in my opinion, definitely top 10. So, yeah, Josh Jacobs is the heart and soul of this team. Now, since we're on the topic, I want to hit one tweet that came down the pike. I got tagged in earlier from ML Football. I want to get your all's take on this, all right? 2020 NFL redraft, all right? So this is what they did with the redraft. If you could, knowing what you know now, let's go back and redraft in 2020. Here are the top 10 picks. They said they would take Joe Burrow, still number 1 with Cincinnati. I agree with that. Justin Herbert, number 2 with Washington. I don't know if I agree with that, but I can understand how people would feel like that. Number 3, Justin Jefferson would go to the Detroit Lions. Number 4, Jalen Hurts would go to the Giants. All right. And keep in mind, he fell to the second round. Number 5 on this list, would be Jordan Love being drafted by the Miami Dolphins. They're saying Jordan Love should have been a top 5 pick is what I'm taking away from this little exercise with ML football.
That's awesome.
See it. I think they got to switch CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins around on that list, though. I think T. Higgins should probably not be number 10. He'd probably be closer to that.
Think he'd be a little higher.
Yeah, six or 7 spot maybe.
All right. And, of course, Tristan Wirfs at 7, Andrew Thomas 8, Jalen Johnson 9, and then T. Higgins, like Tim was mentioning, came in the 10th spot. So, what do you think, Amelia? Do you think he's worthy of a top 5 pick knowing what we know now? I just think it's cool to kind of get information from outside of our Packers circle, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I was going to say was about time to put a little respect on it. I know we were talking last year about needing to give him a little bit more respect, because C.J. Stroud was so amazing and Jordan Love wasn't. So I'm happy that now they're seeing that a little bit. They probably just don't want a lefty throwing the ball anymore, honestly. They're just like, you know what, let's just get a righty in here. J. Love, Tua's just not cutting it anymore.
Exactly. All right, let's see. Ron Samble asked, how many quarterbacks had less than 8 interceptions last year? Let me go to NFL Pro real quick. I got to know that. It's going to bother me if I don't find that real quick. How many? What's your all's guess? How many quarterbacks do you think across the NFL? And they had to have significant snaps, obviously, starter snaps. What do you think? How many quarterbacks do you think had less than 8 interceptions last year?
I'm going to go with like 4 or 5 maybe quarterbacks.
Less than 8.
I got it.
Man, that's kind of tough. I'm gonna say 9 quarterbacks.
Okay, and again, we gotta kind of be selective about this.
While you're digging through that, Clay, let's hit this super chat here from Wheelin' Al
Swiderski.
Might be the coolest name on the web, right?
Absolutely. Little cold beer cash for you, man. I appreciate that.
Thank
I'm
you.
Hitting Clay up for my portion after the show, and I am going to put that to good use.
There you go. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for the super chat.
And you got that extra XP. I like that. You're trying to get past Holmes over there, trying to steal everybody's XP, chatting too much.
So is it showing you the rankings right now, Emilio? Because it's not showing.
Yeah.
Is it in the YouTube?
You got to just click on the top, the crown at the top. Right now we got Ellen, Kufa, Respect Oranges, and Holmes. 1, 2, 3.
Got it. Good stuff. That's awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. All right. So to the interception question, it looks like there were now again Trevor Lawrence. Let's just go off of games played. What do we think it should be? At least 15 games, right? That's how many Jordan played.
What if we did it by attempts? Like at least 500 or more attempts or something?
Okay, that'll work. So let's go. The first one with 500 attempts and less than 8 interceptions is Caleb Williams. He had 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, so there's 1. All right. Let's give Josh Allen, where he had 483 attempts. Let's call it 400 attempts, Tim, because that's your MVP.
Yeah, that's fair because we can't leave Lamar out of the conversation.
Right. So it's Caleb Williams, Josh Allen, and then it would be there's Jalen Hurts too. He played in 15 games. It's going to be tough. We're going to keep adding to the number here. So
maybe you're right. You should do it by games, right?
Yeah. Let's say
14 or better.
Yeah, let's say 14 games or better. All right. So that number would be Caleb Williams 1, Josh Allen 2, Jalen Hurts 3, and then you would have to go up to Lamar Jackson 4, Justin Herbert 5. So 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League last year had less than 8 interceptions. When you're talking less than 10, the number grows pretty extensively there, right? So I like that question, though. So we're looking at, if you can keep it under 8 interceptions, you're in the top 5 in the league at protecting the football, essentially, as a starting quarterback with those kind of.
Okay, go down to 12. Who's got 12? Scroll on down.
12 what? Interceptions?
6, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so we're getting towards the bottom of the – all right. So
Jameis Winston only had 296 attempts and threw 12 interceptions.
I mean, Sam Darnold went off 35 and 12. All I'm asking for is 28 and 12. So, I mean, we could make that work. You can always get more touchdowns.
Yeah. Jared Goff, 12 interceptions. Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bo Nix. So
Russell Wilson, I see, had five 5 picks. How many games did he play in last year?
He didn't play in a whole lot. Russell Wilson played in 11 games.
Yeah, so he doesn't qualify. Same thing with Tua, right? Because Tua was injured.
Yeah.
So
I will say the thing about Russell Wilson, you look up every year and go, damn, the numbers look pretty good. But what I love about EPA, look at his EPA, Tim. His EPA was negative 25.2, right?
Wow.
So it just kind of shows you that he didn't do anything to kind of blow anybody away.
Look at Lamar's EPA.
I don't know how Lamar didn't win MVP.
160.
Yeah.
0.6.
EPA, yeah. Yeah, in terms of EPA, it was Lamar Jackson 1, Jared Goff 2, Josh Allen 3, Baker Mayfield 4, Joe Burrow 5, Jaden Daniels 6, Patrick Mahomes 7, Tua Tagovailoa 8, Brock Purdy 9. Yeah, and you've got Jordan Love coming in the 13 spot at the plus 32.3. Where is our boy Caleb Williams at? He doesn't seem to be.
You got to scroll to the bottom of the list.
I was going to say, look at negative 69.4 EPA for Caleb Williams. Well, let me tell you, that 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, man.
Ooh-wee.
There you go. So, all right, a little extra there. Thank you for asking that question.
Can we stay? Oh, I wanted. Can you pop it back up?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a statistical category that Josh Allen beat Lamar Jackson in last year. I mean, Lamar got more yards, more tutters, less picks.
Yeah.
I would imagine
higher completion percentage.
Yeah. I would think it would be rushing yards. So keep in mind, with that being said, Tim, I'm glad you brought this up. Let's look at the rating, right? Let's go off a rating here. Lamar Jackson, 119.6. Like you said, real quick, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's just silly. And then, of course, you got to go down to Josh Allen having 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with a passer rating of 101.4. Now, let me see if I can somehow, some way pull up a rushing statistic for quarterbacks. I don't know how easy this will be, but let's see if we can go position group, quarterback. Yeah. So he outrushed him too. How the hell is it? It's a 12 rushing touchdowns is what it is.
Like 400 yards too.
That's crazy. Lamar Jackson got absolutely robbed last year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I don't care about either of them enough to follow that close last year to go, oh my God, but I should have been screaming this. That's insane. But I'm so caught up in trying to figure out which Green Bay Packer farted on 2nd and 13. You know, we're watching so much tape that I could care less about who's winning the MVP. So
it's crazy. Just real quick, look at the speed on the side. 60. There's only 2 people that had 60, 15 mile an hour plus blades. That's Lamar and Kyler. And only those 2, both of them had 2 over 20 miles an hour. Look at Jaden.
Jaden Daniels. That's crazy, dude.
85.
He had 85 plays.
85 plays where he ran over 15 miles an hour.
Yeah. I'm so proud that I said I would take him over Caleb during the draft process.
Yeah, where is Caleb? I can't even see him.
Bottom of the list again.
There he is right here. He had 45 over. He didn't crack 20 mile an hour all year.
Do they count running behind the line of scrimmage to try to avoid sacks?
I was trying to see. I know Malik Willis. I want to say Malik Willis had one game where he ran. Of course, he's not going to have a whole lot of attempts, but I was thinking he got like 19 mile an hour at one point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Any other stats y'all want to see with the quarterback position? This is fun, man. This is good to dive into. Learn a little bit tonight. We good?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Let's move it along. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to talk some Jaden Reed. We appreciate y'all.